There's a million things I haven't done. Just you wait, just you wait.
So this is what it feels like to match wit to someone at your level. What the hell is the catch? It's the feeling of freedom of seeing the light. It's Ben Franklin with the key and a kite. You see it right? The conversation lasted 2 minutes, maybe 3 minutes. Everything we said in total agreement. It's a 3 minutes, a bit of a dance, a bit of a posture, it's a bit of a stance. He's a bit of a flirt, but I'ma give it a chance. I asked about his family. Did you see his answer? His hands started fidgeting. He looked askance. He's penniless. He's flying by the seat of his pants.
Hello and welcome to the Be-Cray Podcast, episode 7, with someone who's a pretty big deal, Sydney Szumowicz. Welcome.
Thank you so much. I don't consider myself a big deal, but yeah, it's really nice to be here.
Well, to anyone who doesn't know, and you should, Sydney is a podcaster, moderator, and part-time contributor, especially over on the Cultaholic wrestling channel and Joy of Wrestling. A really cool fact as well is that you are my second American guest on the podcast, and funnily enough, the second female guest. So
that's fun.
So firstly, can you give me and the viewers some idea of how you got into doing all the projects that you're involved in, such as being a fellow moderator over at Cultaholic, how you started appearing on the Cultaholic Classic Raw review with Justin Henry and Tom Campbell, and if you have any aspirations to start a YouTube channel?
So the way that I started getting into all this actually started with my lovely brother, Austin Szumowicz. He was someone who got me into the idea of doing wrestling and even a little bit YouTube wrestling wise. And he was actually who introduced me to Cultaholic back when they were called back when they were part of What Culture.
Sure.
And I just fell in love with them. I was like, these guys are so funny, and it's like it's teaching me a ton about older wrestling that I didn't know about. And this was around the time it was around September or something of I don't remember what year, probably like 2016 or something like that. I think that's when they were there.
Because it was 2017 when they formed Cultaholic.
Yeah, I think it was 2016 then, because around that time they had started What Culture Extra, which has gotten controversial, which is very controversial.
The infamous.
Very infamous. It's been very controversial, but me and Austin actually signed up for it, and they would do these live streams all the time, like for Raw and SmackDown and NXT and all this stuff, and we would watch it, and then they started doing Skype call-ins. So we were like, well, why not? We'll Skype call in. And we just started doing it, and the more we called in, the more like we were getting well known. Austin would play his guitar, and I did like a heel turn or something. I still don't even know why I did it. And then like the next reactions, I was just like, yeah, I don't want to be heel, so I'm not gonna do that. So I relinquished my title. But yeah, I met a ton of friends through it, and then through that, I became friends with Jack and Ross and Adam and even other Adam, and
Sure.
And then of course the whole wedding that there was for Adam and Ross.
Such an amazing time.
Oh, absolutely. And then when Cultaholic started, we were hearing about it. We were super excited for it. And then Austin told me a day early, actually, before it happened. He's like, so Cultaholic is launching tomorrow, and they're going to start a Discord, and they wanted me to let you know about it. But just so you know, I'm a moderator on it. Just don't be upset. So, of course, I'm not upset, but I'm just thinking, why didn't they come to me? So
deep down, you're like, what?
I'm like, I was more well known. Austin played guitar. That was about it. I sang on it. I sang on it a couple times, and I was just like, I don't know. I'll message Adam, see what happens. So I message Adam about it, and he's like, oh well, because we need to be an adult. You need to be over 18.
Yeah, of course, yeah, I know this story now. Yeah.
And I was like, well, I actually just turned 18 just a couple about a month ago. And he was like, oh, okay. And immediately made me a moderator. So ever since
That's
then,
so funny.
Yeah. Ever since then, I've been super, super good friends with them and been working with the moderator team, and it's been an absolute blast. When it comes to the other stuff I've done, I actually was friends with Justin right around the time where he joined the Discord for the first time. He was the first of the staff to come on the Discord that wasn't like the main on-camera staff. And we just kind of started talking, and I guess we kind of sort of like got a friendship going. And he asked, he'd like, hey, you only started watching wrestling, like you haven't watched a ton of old school wrestling. How about I have you on my podcast? Would you like to be on it? I was like, yeah, I'd love to be on it.
And then Justin Henry, by the way, is just an absolutely great guy.
Oh, absolutely.
He's such a cool dude.
One of my best friends, honestly, in the wrestling world. And then because of him, I met Tom. And then the first episode of the Classic Raw Review that I was on was the first time I had met Tom. And ever since then, me and Tom have become really good friends too.
He's also an absolute sweetheart. Tom's such a nice guy.
For sure. And then when it comes to other podcasts, my brother had a podcast that I would sometimes co-host. I used to manage it. We did a ton of like media stuff, which was super, super interesting, but I'll get more into that later. And then me and my really good friend Floyd Johnson Jr., we've recently started a podcast for the WrestleJoys site called Around the Ring, where basically me and him talk about our top 5 favorite things from wrestling that week. And it's a ton of fun.
Which is, if I can interject, it's an absolutely awesome podcast. You definitely should check it out.
Oh, thank you so much. But
I'm not just saying that as well. It's really lovely camaraderie between the two of you, and like really relevant things you talk about is always very interesting.
Yeah, we're very, very good friends, and we were first friends through Twitter, and then we met in person, and the friendship just grew even more. We're just such good friends, and he's just we work off each other very well. But yeah, now I do that for WrestleJoy, and hopefully sooner or later I will have my first writing piece, which I'm very I'm working on it. It's taken a little while because of school, of course. Yeah. But I've been working on it, and it's going pretty well. I'm just still kind of working on it. And in regards to a YouTube channel, I've never thought about doing a YouTube channel for like a podcast or like wrestling, but I have thought about doing a cover channel. And Austin knows about this more than anybody. Sure. Because he's the one who keeps telling me I should try it, and I'm very nervous too, because of course he has a cover channel. But yeah, I mean, that was a lot. But yeah, that's basically everything.
And as well, he's also very good at the covers he does.
Oh yeah, he's incredibly talented. Great musician, great singer. I joke with him a lot, but he's really, really good.
you need to have that sibling rivalry sometimes, though.
Oh yeah, for sure. And as much as we like to fight about stupid crap and all that stuff like that happens with siblings, of course, truly I love him more than anything. He's one of my best friends in the entire world.
No, it's lovely to hear. In terms of the cover channel, I think it's definitely something that you should do. Like, truly.
I might someday. It would depend.
Obviously, I understand you've been very busy recently, but for sure, I think you should definitely go for it.
I might try sometime in the future because I really enjoy singing, but I'm always very conscious of my singing. I
Sure.
can't talk. But like in the one of the most recent episodes of the Raw review, I actually sang at the end of it. And I was very, very scared to do that. In fact, Justin had to almost talk me into it. But of course, I was like, all right, fine. I mean, the song isn't that hard to sing, so it wasn't a big deal. But I love singing. It's just one of those things. I don't think I'm a good singer in my own heart, but I've had many, many people that I look up to tell me that I am a good singer, but who knows?
Well, on the topic of music, we will definitely come to that a little bit later on. But for now, let's take a slight step back and let's talk about your childhood and your earlier life. So, roughly whereabouts did you grow up?
So I grew up in a little town in Michigan, of course, the United States.
Woo-woo.
And I've lived in the same place my whole life. Very not a super small town, but somewhat small town, right in between some bigger cities. But I've lived here my whole life, and of course, I'm not that old. I'm only 20 right now. I turned 21 in next month, actually. But yeah, I mean, I've lived here my whole life, and I've very much enjoyed living here. And while there are some stuff that's very annoying about Michigan, like the weather,
snow 360 days out of the year.
Oh my god, yeah. And then like some days it'll be like, okay, now it's gonna snow, and then the next day it's gonna be like 80 degrees, and then it's gonna snow again. It's like I don't understand it. Like
every single extreme you could ever want is just gonna happen.
Yeah, like
at the same
like
time.
this week alone, it's been like over 90 degrees every day. And it's been gorgeous out. But like yesterday, like last week it was monsoon raining. Like it makes no sense to me.
And obviously, we've spoken slightly before of you're not the only person from Michigan I know, because I know family up in Alpena who have the Huskies.
Ah, yes, yes. You did tell
they
me
also
about that.
they also have a YouTube channel. It's called Gone to the Snow Dogs.
Ooh, I'll have to look that up.
Yeah, I remember I first subscribed to them when they had about 3,000 subscribers, and now they're on over 1 million. So it's quite funny.
Wow, that is funny.
So you're in Michigan. You've been here your whole life. Tell me about school. Did you enjoy school or did you hate it?
I was actually the weird person who liked school. I had of course I had kindergarten and preschool and stuff like that, which I don't remember very well. But according to my parents, I was very, very sassy. Makes sense. My initials are SAS. But but yeah, I don't remember that much about that, but elementary school was when I was starting to like actually get into I'm liking school. I like the stuff I'm learning about, and I like to make connections with my my teachers more than anything. So like I wouldn't be like, "Oh, I want to make friends with all these people in this in my class. I want to make friends with the teacher." Cuz then of course that makes me the teacher's pet more than anything. But
Right.
I absolutely loved being the teacher's pet because honestly, when you think about it ahead of time, now when I apply for jobs and stuff, I've already got references who are going to say I'm a good person.
Exactly.
Like a hard
Exactly.
worker. It's perfect. But yeah, elementary school, it wasn't too difficult, and then there was a middle school which was right before high school, because I don't know if the other American person that was on explained how schooling works. But
they pretty much said they hated school.
but yeah, through fourth grade I was elementary school, and then there was fifth and sixth grade, which was like an intermediate school where like it was right between elementary school and middle school. I still don't get it, but but I liked that too, and I started making more friends around that time. Middle school, I also started making more friends. High school, for some reason, I kind of stopped making friends. I just kind of kept the friends I had, or lost some friends. Like,
Right.
I wasn't a huge friend person in high school. I was more like, I want to make sure I take the classes I need to so I can be prepared for college. And high school was around the time where I started getting like, okay, now I'm starting to get a little sick of this, but I still really liked my teachers. I still really liked learning new stuff. Like, I took a law class, which was probably one of the most interesting things that probably does not matter to me in the long run for what I'm going to do in college. But
Did you find that difficult?
it was somewhat difficult, but it kind of helped because out of my shell a little bit more, because it's hard to tell, but I'm a big introvert. I'm very shy. But when I'm talking to people I know very well, or I'm talking about something I'm really interested in or passionate about, I kind of can't stop talking. But normally in real life, when you see me, if I were at like a party or something, I'll be sitting in a corner listening to music. Like, I'm not the type of person to go out of my way to go and talk to someone and be like, hey, I'm so and so and da 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 da.
Hey, come talk to me.
Yeah, exactly. And then after high school, I did very, very well in high school. I got like a 3.98 GPA, which is almost a 4.0, which is absolutely insane. And I hadn't even taken any advanced placement classes, which are basically college credit courses that you take in high school. But and that allows you to get higher than a 4.0. But I was still like, top 20 in my class.
Wow. Well done, you.
And there was like, God, 500 people probably in the class. So being top 20 was a pretty big accomplishment. And then I applied for college, and my main college I wanted to go to was Michigan State University, MSU. It's also known as a Big Ten school, but that means sports. That's
Right.
not what I was going for, but people were telling me, oh, that's a Big Ten school. It'd be really cool if you got in there, da da da. And I also applied for a smaller school called Ferris, which is not too far away from here, like a couple hours away or so. But I applied for both of them. And my hope was, I was like, okay, please let me get into MSU, because I applied for this specific thing called Lyman Briggs, which is basically like the higher level science course, like dorm, which is like a college on the campus of the university.
Yeah, sure.
And I remember it so clearly. I was in the car with Austin because we were going to his apartment, and I don't remember why, but we were going there, and we were about to leave his apartment, and we were in the car, and I checked my email because it said I had an email, and I checked it, and it was the acceptance letter, and I screamed, and Austin freaked out. He was like, what's going on? And I told him, he was like, did I hit something? And I was like, Austin, I got into MSU. I got into Lyman Briggs.
Wow.
He went, fuck yeah.
Yeah,
Gave me a huge hug.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was very, very cool to see. And now I am currently in my junior year, my third year of college. Which it's been very different for me. Again, I've been coming out of my shell more. I've got some of my closest friends, and I'll even shout them out, Maddie and Austin. Funny enough, my other really good friend is also named Austin. How funny is that? Spelled differently.
It was meant to be.
Oh, you know it. But yeah, those two are my closest and dearest friends. One of them I'm even living with, and we're getting a kitten together. We're so excited. But yeah, I mean, I'm still in school. I'm still going for, I'm going to be a veterinarian. So I've got at least another 6 years, maybe even more. So I've got a lot more school, but thankfully I'm the type of person who actually kind of likes school, which is kind of, you don't see that very often.
No, but it's really good to have your goals, and it's really good that you've got your eyes set on what you want to accomplish. You know what you have to do, and it seems like you've surrounded yourself with a bunch of really good people to help yourself get there. So that's really amazing to hear.
Absolutely.
Funnily enough, talking about kittens, you had a kitten story from the other day, didn't you?
That was actually from I believe it was last week, because I actually
Right.
missed Dynamite because of it.
Yeah, that's it.
And because I had we were about to turn on DNT to put on Dynamite, and our really one of my mom's really good friends she used to work with came over. She's like almost like my second mom, so I was like, I need to talk to her and stuff. So we were outside talking about stuff, and then one of my neighbor's kids came over and came inside our house and ran at our back door, scared the crap out of me. And then she opens the door. She opens the door and she's like, so yeah, I wanted to come over here and ask if you wanted to come see my kittens. And I was like, pardon? I was like, did I just hear kittens? And I literally ran out the door and went across the street. And there were 2 tiny little gray kittens. We thought they were, at the time, they were like 3 or 4 weeks old. But then I saw kittens that actually were like around even older than that. And they were much bigger, meaning I wouldn't be surprised.
So these were very recently born.
Yeah, it couldn't have been a week, or it couldn't have been even a week, maybe even week or 2 weeks or something like that. But they had one of their friends had found there were 5 kittens found in a pipe. He works in like pipe repair and stuff like that, and he went to go pick up a pipe. He heard a sound and he looked inside, and there's just 5 little kittens all by themselves.
This is obviously what someone's just dumped them there.
Yeah, and and there was no mom in sight, so he took them, and my neighbor ended up taking 2 of them, which she's gonna end up having them as barn cats. So that way, because they have horses, so they need ways to get rid of the mice that are in the barn and stuff. So
the vermin.
Basically. But and I was very tempted, but we're already looking at other places, some other places where we're looking to get a kitten. So we were like, okay, we're all right with that. We don't want to do too much work, because with how young they are, they probably need to be syringe fed. It's almost like a little worrying.
They probably won't have their full vision yet either.
No, honestly not. Their eyes were open, but that's about it.
Even just there, we can already see your veterinarian skills coming out to life.
Basically, I haven't even taken a specific class besides a Vet 101 class, but yeah. I'm already it's one of those things. It's just in my head.
You're just able to burst straight into action. That's amazing. Obviously, we've spoken a little bit about Austin, your brother. But how's your relationship with the rest of your family?
My relationship with the rest of my family is one that could only be dreamed of. I love my parents more than anything. I am very attached to them. I'm very attached to Austin. In fact, I was actually going to try to go to Central Michigan University at one point, because I wanted to be there with him. And my mom actually talked me out of it, so that she's like, if you go there, then you're going to use him as a crutch to not make friends. And I don't want you to do that. And I didn't want to do that either. So that was one of the reasons why I decided not to go to the same college as him. But yeah, my parents are absolutely incredible. I love them so dearly. They're some of my best friends. I absolutely could not do anything I've been able to do without them, and I wouldn't be able to have this incredible opportunity of an education if it wasn't for them, because they are truly the absolute best. And I'm gonna make sure they listen to this part, because they're gonna get emotional, because I love them so much.
No, it sounds like you're very lucky, and it sounds like you have a very beautiful family and support network around you. So that's a great thing to hear. I'm very happy to hear that. Let's talk about something fun. Let's talk about video games.
Yay!
So, would you say that you're a fan of video games?
Yes, I would.
And if so, do you remember the first video game you ever had as a kid?
For the first video game I had, I know our first video game console was the GameCube. I know that was our first console.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I don't remember the exact first game we played, but I would have to guess probably. Oh, I'm trying to think. Probably Smash Bros. Melee. I would assume that would be our first.
Brilliant game.
Maybe. I'm trying to think. What else do we have? Like, we had like a Pokemon like XD Gala of Darkness or something like that. And we had so many games. I feel like we got like a ton at once. Honestly, Austin remembers this stuff so much better than I do. He could have probably said like the first game we played, but
you would have known the literal full title.
Oh yeah, but I do know the first console we had was a GameCube, and not long after we got a PS2.
What would you say is your favorite game ever?
So I was actually talking to Austin about this one because I was saying I like Spyro a lot. That's one of my favorites for sure. But when I say like favorite, because I could replay that game all the time. But I also would have to say probably,
and as well, you have to help a lot of other people, to play the game too.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, Adam, and then he doesn't listen, and then he gets mad at me. Yeah, that's fun.
Then he just swears at everyone.
Basically.
Curses.
But yeah, I love replaying that game. I could play that up over and over and over. But if I had to pick my favorite game of all time, that like was my childhood almost, because like I didn't play Spyro until I was older, because
Right, okay.
I did not have an original PlayStation or anything to play Spyro on. I actually think the first time I played Spyro, this is hilarious, at a McDonald's play place that had one of those like little PlayStation
Wow.
Kiosks to play like the first level of Spyro. And I remember doing that. I remember doing that. I was like, this game is so awesome, but we didn't have a PlayStation. And I was like, whatever, we'll come back here and I'll play it a little bit more. But if I had to pick like favorite game of all time, as weird as it is, it would have to be Kirby Air Ride on GameCube.
Oh.
Was absolute childhood. Like, we played that so much. We still play it to this day. In fact, we recently hooked up our GameCube up to the living room so that we can play the GameCube games again, because we're feeling nostalgic. But we played
Kirby is amazing.
Oh my god, it's so good. And Kirby Air Ride, I just loved it so much because it was so different from the actual Kirby games. Because whenever you think Kirby, you're like, it's a platformer, you suck up guys, da-da-da. But with Kirby Air Ride, you're just riding on a little star, and then you got to go and get new vehicles, and you got to do like all these tests on them. And I was just like, this is so cool. And I just had so much fun playing it. We used to do like a thing when we were younger. We would make it where like we would play on free play mode on like the City Trial, where City Trial was like the only mode we played on it. But we would play free play where we would just have unlimited time and all the vehicles would be unlocked. And then we'd act like a car company. So we'd be like, all right, who want you come in? You gotta show off these cars. Which one you want? Da, da, da. And I remember doing that. I did it with Austin, and then I remember doing it with one of my cousins, Connor. But we used to do that.
Memory.
We used to do it all the time, and we still love that game. Like, me and Austin will play City Trial, like the normal game, like anytime, because it's just so much fun.
It just holds such a nice place in your heart.
For sure, for sure.
Would you say there's any video games that are coming out soon that you're quite excited about?
For games that are coming out soon, that's actually kind of hard, because...
Or I suppose if I could rephrase it, if it's not a game that you know is coming out soon, is there a game that you don't know but you would love to see come out again, whether that be in a re-release or a sequel?
I want to see a Kirby Air Ride sequel or re-release on the Switch.
Kirby WrestleMania.
Basically, just have Kirby going up against John Cena.
That would be amazing.
Absolutely. But if I had to pick a game that's coming out in the future that I'm really excited about, I really loved Little Big Planet. That was another game I played a ton. I played Little Big Planet 2 on the
It's actually it's actually really underrated, that game. I thought it was amazing.
I totally agree. But when I was watching the PS5 reveal trailer, and I saw The Adventures of Sackboy, I got very excited. I don't know. I'm like, I hope it can come out on the PS4 too, because I would rather not buy a whole new console just to play Sackboy, but don't tempt me.
That's the problem, isn't it? There'll be like one or two games which you have to play, but then you have to buy the whole oh no.
Yeah, like the new Spider-Man's another one. Like I haven't even finished the first one, but
it's all based around Miles Morales, isn't it?
Yeah, and that just sounds like a super interesting story.
That's really cool. Yeah, it's interesting that, isn't it? How like video games. I mean, especially if you look at the PS4 reveal trailer, and then you have GTA 5 being showcased again for like the 4th console generation in a row. It's like
I don't get it.
Yeah, this whole thing with backwards compatibility in all these games. You would hope that Sackboy is available on the PS4, but if not, your
hopefully
your wallet's not going to like you.
I just remember the other one. Oh god, I don't remember what it's called, but I remember Tom tweeted about it. The one where you play as a cat. I want that game on the PS4.
Oh, I've got to search it up.
I don't remember the name of it, but I remember it was a trailer and it was just of a cat, and they were like, "You can play at Stray." That's it.
Stray,
and I was, I want that on the PS4. And
I saw loads of people on Twitter all getting really angry about it, saying, "Oh, what is this game?
Why?
What a waste of time!" It's like, come on, man, what's wrong with you? This game looks awesome.
And then you get people like me who want to be a vet, and I want to play as a cat. I freaking love playing as animals.
No, that game does look really cool.
Yeah, for sure.
So, if you think about video games, the graphics in them is getting better and better with every single minute, it seems like. And they're almost they're almost becoming like film. They're becoming like a movie. So let's talk about film and television.
Nice segue.
Sydney, what would you say is your favorite TV show?
My favorite TV show would have to be Pretty Little Liars. And I know people are going to be like, "Oh, that's such a stupid drama." Da, da, da. I freaking that was bonding time, not only with me and my mom, but it was also time where I almost got scared of the TV show because I got scared it was real. But I also read the books before I saw the TV show. So I loved the books. I loved them so much. And then I heard a TV show was coming out, and I was like, "Oh my god, Mom, we gotta watch this." And so we watched the TV show, and I watched like every single season, and I loved it so much, and it went so off the rails from the book. So I'm like, I'm surprised it didn't go the same story as the book, but honestly, it was more interesting. But honestly, as much as it's like, oh, it's a drama, it's just stupid teenagers doing stupid things.
Yeah, but at the same time, you need to like what you like. It doesn't matter what someone else thinks.
Yeah,
that's the whole point of this conversation. We're trying to tell people something that they should watch. So if you haven't watched it, you can bloody watch it.
Absolutely. It's an extremely good show. The actresses and actors in it are fantastic. There are some risque moments, I will say, but nothing terrible. Nothing terrible. Just a student and a teacher having an affair. But
yeah, the normal.
Basically. but I've always loved it, and it was just like a cool murder mystery, and it was really, really interesting. And yeah, ever since then, that's just been my favorite TV show of all time, and nothing has beaten it so far.
So, I mean, you speak about the TV show deviates slightly from the book, obviously without going into too much spoilery territory. In what way is it different? Is it because the production value of a show means that they can get away with more creative license, or is it just in the tone and the theme?
It's definitely creative license is definitely there, because like there's a part where there's like two characters that look very similar. And like in the book, they had like a twin sort of thing, and they had that in the show too, but they went like a more crazy route with it. Like there's a whole thing about like a dollhouse, like that was never in the book, but almost
Right.
like it was like on the way, like the first like 3 books or something. That was like the first 2 seasons, but then like they had something happen which like at the end of the book that never happened in the show.
Interesting.
So it was like, I guess it was the person, it's funny because if I remember correctly, the person who made the books also directed the TV show. So I think she was just wanting to go a different way of it. But
in a way, that would also, just say you were to have a really good book that you love, and it gets made into a film or a TV show, and then it's very wildly different to the original source material, and then you see that the director and the writer were someone else. I guess even though, yeah, tell me about it. Even though like it may be wildly different in some aspects, it's nice to know that it was the original writer in that way, because maybe that's just the unique evolution that they wanted to have.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely agree with that.
But no, definitely everyone should watch that if you haven't already.
It's on Netflix, if I remember correctly.
Watch it, people. Let's talk about film. Do you have a favorite film?
I have a favorite film, and I also have a favorite trilogy. So,
Ooh. Yeah, go ahead.
My favorite film would have to be, because I don't want to make it like the same thing, so I don't want to say something from the trilogy that's my favorite film, even though it's definitely up there. If I had to pick my favorite film, it would probably be Inside Out. As again, it's a Disney movie, it's a Pixar movie, but I am a baby, and I cried my eyes out at that movie. I like.
The thing is, that's one of the only Disney movies I have never seen.
You need to see it.
I've never seen it.
ASAP. ASAP, Arches.
I think I generally know the story, but not really. What is it about? What is it about the film that you love?
The fact is, the way it's presented is, they're little emotions, and it's like, what would be going on in someone's head, and what's these emotions? They had to move out of town, and now they're really sad, and sad emotions, and then joy and sadness are taken out of the central control area, and so like anger and disgust and fear are all controlling being the main control, when joy's normally the main control. And so it's messing with the girl Riley's emotions, and they're doing like in the actual like not the main control area, joy and sadness are going through like an adventure to do stuff, like to figure things out. And it's like the last third is the most insane thing, because it all clicks. It all clicks exactly what this movie's about, and exactly what it's trying to teach you, and it kicks you right in the heart.
I was going to say, it from the outset, it does seem like it will be a very deeply emotional film if you connect to it on that level.
Absolutely. And it's like, it's one of those things that it uses the veil of, it's a kid's movie, to talk about something super important that needs to be talked about, which basically is just...
Which even though it is spoken about a lot more these days, it still isn't, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like, and the whole thing is, it's just like saying that it's okay to be sad. Like, if there's some times where people have to be sad, and it's not like and while you may be sad at 1 minute, it could lead to you being even happier. Like, and it's just that idea that sadness is kind of something you live with. It's not something you ignore and don't like, oh, if I'm sad, that means I'm weak. Like, I hate that talk. Like,
Yeah.
the fact is, emotions are emotions, and they are meant to be there, and they're meant to be the way they're meant to be. So it's hard to explain without giving everything away, but there's a part where like Riley's trying to run away from home, and she just gets back to her house, and they let sadness take over, and she presses the button, and Riley just cries in her mom and dad's arms. I was in the movie theater. I turned to my mom and I cried in her shirt.
Oh. Yeah, it's very clever, and I think, like you say, the way that they framed it being that children's movie, but it does teach a very important message for sure.
Absolutely. And then for my favorite trilogy, because I forgot what I was talking about.
Yeah. Go ahead with the trilogy.
The Back to the Future trilogy. I know it's from the 80s, but
Absolutely amazing. No one has said that so far on the podcast, which I've been
how
deeply
dare they?
sad about. Absolutely, that all three films, the first one especially, are absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Honestly, my favorite was the second one, but the first one's like a very, very close second. But the second one, that one made me laugh a lot more.
But the thing is, the second one is real life, right now.
It's up now. We're there.
We're actually there. We just don't have the hoverboard. That's the only thing.
Yeah, but yeah, I absolutely. I love those characters. I love those movies, and I love the ideas of the movies. And I never would have found out for it if it wasn't for the fact that my mom is a huge Michael J. Fox fan. Because if it wasn't for that, she wasn't going to show us the movie. So she wanted to show us what she considered one of her favorites, and that kind of started it all off.
And also, he plays the role so well. He's so brilliant.
Yes, he's so good at it.
So let's talk about sports. Would you say that you have an interest in any sport apart from wrestling?
There was a time where I did, and that was when I used to work at an arena at MSU for their basketball, and I was an usher there.
Oh wow!
And
that's awesome.
So basically, I applied to be an usher for the arena. I wasn't an usher for the basketball team. I was an usher for the arena.
Sure, sorry, my mistake.
All good. But yeah, it was very interesting. I met a lot of very, very, very kind people, and people around my age, people older. Like, it was me to be a little more customer servicey, I guess would be the word.
Yeah, you're able to gain more social skills and being around different people.
Yeah, and I was just the type of person that if someone talked to me, I would talk to them. Like, I had little kids coming up to me, and I would do little games with them. Like, I had a time where there was a little kid who was above, like, you had to like climb the stairs to go up to the area, and he was over on the edge, and he like kept peeking his head over, and I was doing like a little peekaboo thing with him, and that was like probably one of my favorite shifts, because I was just like, I'm having so much fun with this kid. Like, I'm not even paying attention to the basketball, but I'm having fun with the kid.
No, that's awesome. Would you say that you had a favorite basketball team growing up?
Honestly, I had the team from Michigan, which is the Detroit Pistons. That's for NBA. They are not very good, but honestly, no. Besides, like, the college sports, no Michigan team is very good. The Detroit Lions are a terrible football team. The Detroit Tigers are a terrible basketball team. Like, Detroit Red Wings, awful hockey team. They messed up their draft pick, and Austin was telling me about it, and I was just like, How do you do that?
I bet he was getting so annoyed.
Oh yeah, and then I'm just like, MSU like almost won they technically won like their Big Ten thing because before everything happened, they had won their game to get into the Big Ten. So they technically were one of the champions, which was super, super cool. But yeah, I mean, I'm much more of a fan of like college stuff because then I'm like, I'm gonna cheer for MSU because that's my school.
Yeah, of course. Because
Mhm.
a lot of people that I speak to about NFL and stuff is they say they absolutely love college football much more because they find it more entertaining. And even
I agree.
if you look at good old AJ Styles, he completely prefers college football, which he always
Yeah.
rants about because he wants his kids to get into it.
Yep,
Which is
yep.
awesome.
And then you get Seth Rollins doing his "I hate football, I love football," which all depends on
Yeah.
how the Bears do.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think one of the reasons why I really like the Chicago Bears was because of a guy called Seamus who was in The Creatures, who I think you and Austin both
I know
watched.
I know the creatures, and I remember Seamus.
He's recently just come back to YouTube. He's come back after 4 years away, and it's awesome to see him back.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he was always one of my favourite ones from The Creatures. Obviously, it's a shame they're not really together anymore, but you know.
Yeah, it's
life.
unfortunate, but understandable too.
So as well, in terms of sports, did you ever compete in sports at school?
When I was younger, I played t-ball and I played softball, which
Sure.
basically
Yeah.
do you know what each of those are?
I know softball. If you explain the rules of t-ball, I'll probably understand what you mean.
So t-ball is basically it's just baseball, but instead of having the ball pitched to you, it's put on a little tee in front of you, and you just gotta hit it.
Right. Okay. Sure.
Yeah, and that I played that when I was younger, and I also played I said I played a little bit of softball, not a ton, but I remember winning something. I just don't remember exactly what it was. And then I played golf for a little while.
Awesome.
We would go to like a little country club and we would do like golf lessons and stuff like that, and just do like over summer we would just play golf.
You'd hit the driving range.
Basically, yeah, and then we do like 9 holes, sometimes 18, more than often not with me because I'll do maybe 9 and then I'll stop because I get tired.
Yeah, you just pass out on the grass.
Basically, but I know I remember I was doing a tournament and I actually got second place, and the only reason was because we had finished the 9 holes and we had tied. So we had to go back to the first hole, and then we had to hit, and whoever got closest got it. And I just had a really unlucky hit, but I still got second.
Darn it.
And I'm not great at golf, but I do enjoy playing it. Not as much as Austin. Austin loves it a lot more than I do.
Probably similar to me because a lot of my friends really, really love golf, and I really enjoy it as the game. I'm not very good at it, but I haven't really done that much, if that makes sense. But
yeah,
no,
I understand
golf
that.
is cool. Golf is cool.
Yeah, I was oh man, I'm trying to remember. It was like we would go golfing as a family a lot, and then we would get a golf cart, and my mom would use that my mom and dad would use that to help me learn how to drive a little bit. My dad was one of the ones who was like, we'll use the golf cart to try and teach you how to drive. I won't lie, one time when he was trying to teach me, I almost went into a lake.
Oh no.
I thankfully turned really quickly to get out of the way, but
I mean, I don't think they'd mind too much about a golf ball going missing, but the golf buggy.
Yeah, it's like, is that the top of a golf cart? I don't think that's supposed
to... You just both have to jump out, and you're just rolling onto the green as it just flies off the edge. Amazing. But really, here's the main talking point. Let's talk about some wrestling.
Yeah.
Now, this is something that you've already read, but I'm going to say it again anyway because it's exactly how I feel. And I was extremely surprised because I was listening to an episode of the Cultaholic Classic Raw Review with Justin Henry and Tom Campbell. I was on the way to college myself on the train, and I remember that you were talking on there and you were speaking so eloquently and passionately about wrestling, and you had so much knowledge. And then I hear you say that you only started watching in 2009, which is like hardly any time ago. And it was insane to think of like how knowledgeable you had become in such a short time, and you know how much passion you had for the sport and the theatre of professional wrestling. And it was really quite inspiring and really lovely to hear. So the first thing I should ask you is, who is your favourite wrestler?
My favorite wrestler. Now this has changed a lot. And it was a lot of times it would be I was a big fan of Cody Rhodes. I was a big fan of Kenny Omega.
Sure.
But honestly, if I had to pick my favorite wrestler of all time, it would have to be Undertaker. I've never met him. I've always wanted to, though. I was this close.
Mark Callis.
This close. I was this close to being able to meet him. And then, of course,
he got pulled from StarCast.
Basically, so
because Vince McMahon's salty.
Very salty. But yeah,
so
I mean,
annoying.
I can't.
Why couldn't he just let the man do a show?
I don't know, because
he's
AEW
gonna work for AEW, damn it.
He's gonna go on AEW, and he's like, dude, no, I'm not. Like,
I bet that must have been so sad.
Yeah, I was sad about it, but I was still happy because
maybe in the future you'd be able to see.
Oh, definitely, it will happen in the future, no matter what.
And I mean, on that point specifically, before I move on that, tell me more about StarCast, because that's something that I'm so jealous that I didn't get to go and see.
StarCast was basically like a little convention where there would be shows and meet and greets and all this sort of stuff with a ton of AEW wrestlers, as well as a ton of old school wrestlers.
And I believe it was a setup by Conrad Thompson, correct?
Yes, Conrad Thompson set it up. And for the first, second, and third one, Austin submitted his podcast in to be on Podcast Row, which we ended up getting. So we were on Podcast Row for the first StarCast. For StarCast 2 and 3, me and Austin were both media. So it was a very, very cool experience.
That's so cool. That's awesome.
And while we were also media, we were also like, look, even though we're media, we still want to meet these guys. So like we bought meet and greets so we could meet. Like, I went and saw the Bucks, I went and saw Cody, I went and saw SCU. Those are three of my all times for currently.
Christopher Daniels, Frankie Kazarian, and Scorpio Sky, baby.
Yep. I very much love them. I love the Bucks, and I've met them plenty of times. Did the Bucks remember me.
Did you see the stat that Scorpio Sky is now the third wrestler to get 20 wins in AEW?
Really? I didn't see that.
He's in third place, just behind Cody, and just behind Cody is Kenny.
That is so cool.
Which is awesome to see. Scorpio Sky fully deserves it. He's amazing.
But yeah, it was very, very cool because you got like meet and greets. You also got to go to shows.
Especially considering you had media lanyards. That's amazing.
Yeah, we still have them somewhere. I just don't know where they are. But
sure.
But yeah, we there were meet and greets, there were shows, so like you could go into like a little convention area and watch a show. Like there was like Being the Elite Live and stuff like that. And then there was of course like meet and greets and other sorts of stuff like that. And then it was just really cool to have like the camaraderie of everybody. Like everyone was super, super cool. And like it's like, oh, we're all wrestling fans, we're all gonna be really nice to each other. First StarCast was where I met Matthew. As he was running late to his panel.
I remember it was so funny watching that panel when he was like sat there talking about his like trouble with all the flights. It was amazing.
Yep. And then the second one is very near and dear to my heart because that is where I met Jack, Sam, and Ross.
Yeah.
So I still have yet to meet Adam, but it will happen, and I'm going to meet Tom too. But
one day it will happen.
Absolutely. And Adam's told me multiple times, he's like, next time we're in the US, let us know. We'll let you know. So
and as well, it might have even happened this year if there wasn't the whole pandemic.
Yeah, definitely. Especially hearing that Fyter Fest was going to be in the UK.
That breaks my heart. It really does. Oh my goodness. I mean, as you know, I've never actually even been to a proper live event ever in my life. Which just thinking about being at Fyter Fest somewhere in the UK, it would have been awesome. It really would.
Absolutely.
But at least, and that's another thing that I really love about Tony Khan, is the fact that like he was saying, sure, it's not going to happen now, but we promise we will do it next year if we can.
Yeah, absolutely. And
that's why Tony Khan is just such a great boss. He just seems like such a great guy. It seems like he treats everyone really nicely.
Yeah, I honestly want to meet him. I want to meet him one day.
Yeah, he seems like a really cool guy. And of course, I have another like for him because he's very much involved in football in the UK.
Yes,
he's the owner of Fulham.
Fulham, that was it.
Yeah, they're a London-based team.
Yep.
So another question for you is, what would you say is your favorite wrestling match ever?
Okay, this one's really hard because this.
I'm giving you the hardest questions.
You are, especially having been at a lot of them. Because my favorites are ones that I was at. But oh man, I'd probably have to go Revolution, Kenny and Hangman Page versus the Bucks. Because I
tell you what, that is the greatest tag team match I have ever seen in my life.
I absolutely agree. And if I had to pick
the oh my goodness, I can't even talk. My hosting has completely gone out the window as soon as we started talking about wrestling because I just want to talk to you about it, just like as if I'm not even recording. Oh dear, carry on.
But yeah, that would definitely be for sure favorite tag team wrestling match of all time. My favorite wrestling match has gone back and forth between Dustin versus Cody.
It's such a hard question.
It's a super hard question, but it goes between Dustin versus Cody and Johnny Gargano versus Tommaso Ciampa at TakeOver New Orleans. We were in the nosebleeds and I was getting emotional.
Wow.
But
probably Dustin Rhodes and Cody's best match ever.
Oh, absolutely. And I think while Johnny Gargano and Ciampa have topped themselves from New Orleans, that is still one of their greatest match.
If we talk about the New Orleans pay-per-view, that was fantastic, and that match in particular was like really emotional and great. But
absolutely,
I actually had myself crying actual tears in the Cody Dustin match.
Same.
Cody Rhodes as a storyteller is one of the greatest. And he's getting started.
He's absolutely incredible. And the fact is that was going to be I'm not going to lie. We met Dustin the next night. Wow. And the next night, when we met him, he said, I wanted to be done. He's like, I was supposed to be done. And then he comes in and does that. And like, how am I supposed to say no? He's like, the Bucks are so much younger than me. They're going to beat me. Like... He's like, I'm not going to be able to keep up.
He hasn't done himself a disservice because even now he's literally keeping up with all the young'uns.
Absolutely. He's been doing fantastic. And I'm glad Cody said he needed his older brother because if it wouldn't have been for that, we might have not gotten...
He needed his older brother.
And we wouldn't have gotten that from... we wouldn't have gotten an AEW Dustin Rhodes if it wasn't for
exactly.
that.
Exactly. That is amazing. You alluded to that you have been to many live wrestling shows. Can you remember every single one you've been to?
All right, give me a minute. We've got. Oh man, what year was All In? I can't remember now.
All In was 2019.
2019? Thought it was, or was it 2018? I can't remember now. Because I remember 2019. The beginning of the year was 2019. At the beginning of the year was the start of AEW, and before that it was.
Sorry, I'm thinking of All Out. All In was.
You're
2018.
good. You're good. Yeah.
All In was 2018.
And then my first ever wrestling show we went to was actually a house show not too far away from our house, actually. It was at an arena not too far away, and we were pretty young. I don't remember it. All I remember is the main event had Big Show, John Cena, and Triple H. I don't remember exactly. All I remember is I couldn't hear the announcer for the life of me. The music was so loud and her mic was so blown out, I couldn't hear it. And then I remember we went with our family, and my mom was just trying to make every, like, oh, do you need popcorn? Oh, do you need another drink? Like, oh, do you
to make
need
sure
it?
everyone had all their supplies.
Yeah, because she's not a wrestling fan, but that was definitely our first one. I think that was 2016. I think, and then I think it was I know it was August. Probably like 20. And yeah, we went to SummerSlam in 2017.
Sure.
And that was our first like live wrestling pay-per-view. We also went to a Raw at Joe Louis Arena, but I don't remember when that exactly was. Which Joe Louis Arena is in Detroit, which is not there anymore because now there's a Little Caesars Arena. But
Right.
But I also, then we went to All In, and I was front row. Basically, I was just in the corner front row, but that was thanks to a really, really friendly person who, on my birthday, was giving away just tickets to front row, and he's like, "Well, happy birthday, Sydney! Here's two tickets to front row." Yep, basically.
That's amazing.
And then I met him in person. Super, super nice guy. We don't talk that much now, but I still can't thank him enough for that. And then, oh man, now I gotta think. We also went to WrestleMania 34. And that was, I believe, my first time meeting Kenny and the Bucks, because I met them at WrestleCon.
What's Kenny like?
And Kenny is very nice, and he likes to crack jokes a lot. But just like he has like this like aura about him that just like, oh my god, he's the greatest or something like that.
Right, of course.
But very, very nice guy. He's been nothing but nice to me when I made him. And then oh man, and then I'm forgetting now. Then we went to Double or Nothing, because I remember we went to that show. We did not go to Fyter Fest from 2019 or Full Gear, but we did go to All Out, which, if people watch at home, you can see me and Austin, second row. I'm wearing a little white jacket. You can see me. We're on hard cam the entire night, which is so insane to think about.
I'll have to watch it back.
Yeah, seriously.
Try and point you guys up.
You'll see us, because especially when Orange Cassidy pops up in the ring, you can see me and Austin in the corner on each side of his shoulder, where you see I start jumping because I'm so excited, and then Austin starts jumping, and we're jumping like at opposite times.
I'm doing an Orange Cassidy thumbs up right now.
Awesome. And then we went to New York, but we didn't go to WrestleMania in 2018. We went to G1 Supercard.
Oh,
and
wow.
Of Ring of Honor people and stuff like that. And then we also did the Bullet Club block party. And then we've been to Starcast 1, 2, 3, and then we did like I said, All Out. And I think the last show we went to was Revolution back in February.
Fantastic show.
Oh, it was so good. And then the hotel we were staying at was where all the AEW stars are staying at. So we literally saw someone every single day.
Would you'd say your favorite match from Revolution would have been the tag team match? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I tell you what, another match which a lot of people, well, not everyone was down on it, but I actually thought it was the perfect ending. Was the match between MJF and Cody?
Oh, I agree. It's definitely
with the ring punch to win after being destroyed the entire match.
Basically, yeah.
It's a shame that they sort of in kayfabe they have kind of split up. I understand MJF's feuding now with Jungle Jack Perry, as JR wants to keep calling him, Jungle Boy. But you know, we'll see where that goes.
Fun fact, my roommate, who is not a huge wrestling fan, the Maddie, who I told you about, she's not a huge wrestling fan, but she has been watching AEW with me lately to try and get into it. And she's gotten somewhat into it, so much so that she hates Inner Circle, she hates MJF, and Jungle Boy is her favorite. So the fact that MJF and Jungle Boy are feuding, I'm like, you got to get over here because you need to watch this. Like,
and that's the funny thing about us is like we can hate but appreciate the Inner Circle.
Basically,
which is so cool. I love Jericho. Jericho's amazing.
He's so good. I'm so glad he's on commentary tonight.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. You know, we've just been talking about all these brilliant memories that you've had, whether that be, you know, going to these events like StarCast or going to these packed WrestleManias or going to just the most hype of AEW live pay-per-views. But recently, there hasn't been any crowds because of the pandemic. But wrestling hasn't stopped. Wrestling has carried on. So what would be your thoughts on the quality of wrestling shows, whether that be for any company, during this new COVID era?
I feel like for all companies, it's been a slight hindrance because obviously have big moments and there's no crowd. AEW has somewhat gotten a little bit understanding of it, where they're like, oh, we're going to put some of the wrestlers in our crowd, and that way it seems like we're still lively. And I think that's better than just like having no crowd at all. But in my opinion, I truly think it would just make more sense, safety-wise, to just put wrestling on pause for a little bit. Because especially WWE and AEW, they are both in Florida, which is currently having one of the biggest spikes ever. Ever in the US. And the fact is,
I think there's more live cases in Florida than there is in the entirety of Europe.
Yeah, basically. And the fact is, I understand AEW is testing every week and making sure everyone's okay. Which
and,
I totally
on merit of being called an AEW mark, they are slightly in an outside arena, if that makes sense.
Yes.
At Daly's place, but anyway, carry on.
But my opinion is, even though they're testing, and that's really, really good that they're testing, and WWE's now testing and stuff like that, even though they should have done it a while ago, but we won't talk about that. But I still think even with testing, it's just like, it's too dangerous right now. And while I love watching wrestling, it's not a priority right now. It's not an essential service, Mayor of Florida or whatever.
Mayor of Orange County.
Basically. And I'm just like, really? Like, I don't think it's an essential service. We don't need wrestling right now. And the people I've talked to have said like it's just not, it's good. It's really good. But there's so many moments where it's like, oh, that could have been when a crowd was there. That could have, Drew won the WWE title. A crowd could have been there. Undertaker's
WrestleMania itself.
Exactly. And the fact is, I don't know why they're continuing to go. I understand like revenue's still needed. There's still like TV contracts and stuff, which I totally understand. But why not just show for like AEW? Why not show old pay-per-views just on TV? Just give them out for free or something. Just like they're older.
Look at the classic Raw review. They could just re-air Raws, surely. And then Ross can just do a WTF retro.
But yeah, in my opinion, I think while it's cool wrestling's still going and it's nice to have something to, it's not a necessity right now. And it wouldn't hurt me or make me upset if wrestling took a pause for a little bit.
Yeah, it's like you're saying, you know, with the pandemic and with everyone having to be in lockdown at different stages throughout the past few months, it's been really lovely to have something such as wrestling to watch and to try and take our minds off things. But, you know, it's got to the point now where there's been allegedly over 24 cases in WWE alone. Mm-hmm. Although AEW are in an open air arena, they have very elderly performers there in terms of the legends. You look at WWE Raw just this week, you have 71-year-old Ric Flair, who literally died on the operating table a few years ago and had a 5% chance of coming back to life, and did. Yep. And he's style and profile and he doesn't give a damn about no virus, but it's going to be a very deathly day if they don't try and do more, because if someone does, God forbid, end up getting seriously ill or worse, then everyone will be asking the question of why didn't they just stop?
Exactly. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if there'd be suing after that.
Yeah, of course. It's definitely something that's within the realms of possibility. But I must say, thank you very much for talking on wrestling, something that we're both very passionate about.
Yeah, I'm always happy to talk about it.
No, I'm definitely going to look forward to doing an actual standalone podcast just on wrestling and having a debate on certain things about that. So, yeah, it'd be really cool to do that soon.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's move on to another subject, though. Let's talk about music.
Yeah.
So, wrestling themes aside, what would you say is your favorite genre of music?
My favorite genre, a little difficult to say, because while I am a pop fan, I like pop music and stuff that's on the radio often. I've also, and honestly, this is kind of thanks to Justin, starting to get a little bit more into like rock and metal a little bit. But if I had to pick a genre that, like, no matter what, I freaking love, as weird as it is, I am a huge Broadway fan.
Awesome. That's amazing.
Yeah, I did acting in around high school, and I didn't do it in high school, but I did it at a theater nearby, and I did sure. I didn't do any musicals, but I did like actual acting and acting courses, and I did an acting class in college. And I've just always been a huge fan of Broadway and acting and theater, and it's just been something. You think I've been to a lot of wrestling shows? I've been to a lot more Broadway shows.
That's so cool. I love seeing plays and theatre productions. Mm-hmm. In my early life, I did a few things like that. There's a city close by called Southampton where I performed on stage.
That's really cool.
Done a few local productions in my my village or town, as you'd say, which is really cool.
Nice. That is cool.
So yeah, you'd say like that sort of really classy Broadway music would be your favorite. Would you say you have a favorite musician on that point?
Favorite musician? That's actually really, really difficult, because I go back and forth between between like actual musicians. Like I like old school Taylor Swift. I like Hilary Duff. I like Avril Lavigne. She's probably one of my favorites. Because I'm a big like 2000s pop. That's like my style. Like top 10s like nowadays are okay, but they're not really my style anymore. I'm all about the 2000s. But yeah, probably one of those three: Hilary Duff, old school Taylor Swift, or Avril Lavigne. I love all of Avril Lavigne's songs, so that probably would be a closer one.
Sure. I mean, me personally, I have such a detest for a lot of modern music. I just find it to be like so much regurgitated and samey and just really kind of. And it's like, it's funny because it's music from the early 2000s, which I maybe didn't like that much at the time, but listening to it now, it's like so much better than a lot of the stuff which is coming out these days, which is so funny. It's like, but I suppose it's the same if you go back, you know, to the 80s. You got lots of good music from the 80s, lots of good massive bands from the 90s and the like.
I also
really
like the 80s. I like the 80s somewhat just because my mom was a huge 80s music fan. So she plays a lot of 80s music, and that's kind of rubbed off on me. So I'm a fan of 80s music as well.
Sure. Now, would you say that there's a specific musician who inspired you to want to maybe do cover songs?
Honestly, probably, as weird as it is, the lead singer of Evanescence.
Right. Sure.
Yeah, I when I heard My Immortal and Bring, those were the two songs I would sing all the time. And to this day, My Immortal is still one of my favorite songs to sing. But yeah, I mean, just like hearing
it's Amy Lee.
Yes, that's her name. But yeah, I just like, that's the style. Like, I feel like she's not too high, she's not too low. Like, it's right around that range I am.
Yeah. Very powerful.
Yeah, it works great for my voice and definitely inspires me.
No, 100%. I definitely do believe that you should definitely do that whenever you have time to, because you never know where it could go. It could lead you to many different places. Now,
very true.
I specifically left something off the list, and it's because before I get to the last sort of ending of the podcast questions, I'm going to re-wrap around back to wrestling. And okay. I'm gonna phrase you a question. You have 24 hours on a desert island. On this desert island, you're completely safe, you're going to be fine, but you're allowed to bring 2 professional wrestlers with you who you can chat to and just learn all about their lives. And these can be dead or alive. So which 2 are you bringing?
Oh my god, that's so hard.
Really putting you on.
Probably, I would have to say Tama Tonga's one of them.
Lovely girl.
And the other one, oh, that's very hard. You know what? Hangman. I don't know a ton about his life, and he just seems like a very friendly guy to talk to. When I've met him, he's been very, very nice to me. And of course, Tom has been nice to me too. So
awesome. And you know what? Because you've been such a good guest, I'm going to say the person who's taking you to and from the island would be The Undertaker.
Yes!
You can talk to him there.
Yes!
That's awesome. No, but Tama Tonga is one of those wrestlers who is massively underappreciated in this world.
Agreed.
Lots of people don't really even know who he is, and I think that's crazy because the Gorillas of Destiny are one of the greatest tag teams in New Japan, maybe even
totally
the world.
Agree. I think they are the greatest in New Japan, in my opinion.
I mean, they have truly been out like almost unstoppable since their formation.
Mm-hmm.
And Hangman Adam Page is awesome, and he has one of the best wrestling themes in the world. And he's on a damn horse half the time.
Yes, he is. And I love animals, so there's another one. He'd bring a horse.
There you go. So, Sydney, we're going to wrap it up now. But
All right.
what would you say are your plans for the rest of the year and into 2021, whether that be in your personal or professional life?
For the rest of 2020, more than likely I'll be continuing with the podcast and WrestleJoy, and I'll be continuing with I'll do the cover channel. Maybe I'll do it before the end of 2020. We'll see if I have time. But more than anything, my focus is school. That's my main focus. And in the fall, I start back up classes, and I will still have about another 2 years left of undergraduate school. And then after that, hopefully I'll be able to apply for vet school. And then I get into vet school and I can become I won't say world-renowned vet, but I'll hopefully be a vet that people feel safe taking their animal to.
You'll be a city-renowned vet.
There
or
you go.
A state-renowned vet.
That works.
Is there anything that you personally wanted to take a moment to make a statement on or give a shout out to anyone in particular?
Once again, I'm going to give a shout out to my big brother, Austin Szumowicz.
Whoop, whoop.
You can find him on his cover channel like that, just his full name, Austin Szumowicz. And listen to him as Strummerwitz at the end of the Classic Raw reviews. Recently, of course, I want to give a shout out to Floyd Johnson Jr., my co-host for Around the Ring. Lovely, lovely man. I love him. He's one of my closest friends and very fantastic guy. Shout out to everyone at Cultaholic, Adam, Ross, Jack, Sam, Tom, Justin, Matthew, Jen, I can't think, Owen, all the editors, and I can't say everybody's name. And then, of course, just shout out to anyone who's ever listened to my podcast and thought I was entertaining, because not always sure I am, but I appreciate people who
You're far too modest,
my opinion.
You're far too modest.
And I appreciate anyone who takes time out of their day to listen to my opinion.
Lovely statement, if I do say so myself. Now, everyone, that is the end. If you check down in the description, all of Sydney's links will be there, so make sure to click on them and go and check out what she does. Sydney, once again, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you. Thank you so much for coming on.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
And hopefully we can have another discussion soon.
Yeah, hopefully.
This was Arches Be-Cray of the Be-Cray Podcast. And goodbye.